Welcome into the Co-Lin Coaches Show this week. We're all about soccer and football. We're going to start off with soccer. Joining me right now is head women's and men's soccer coach Tom Cosgrave. Tom, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
And Coach, obviously a little bit of a rough week, but you take a couple of losses on both sides, and then you rebound with a win and a draw. We'll talk about the Jones games first. This is where you got both the losses. And unfortunately for the girls, they lost. Jones ranked fourth in the nation, lost 4-0. You give up 2 goals in each half, but talk about how your team played.
Yeah, I told the girls to be proud of their performance and a little bit disappointed in the result, but we got to take the positives away from that game. For large spells of each half, I thought we played really well. We held them for the first 40 minutes and then similar in the second half as well. They just got a couple of difference makers that ended up scoring a few goals against us, and obviously it's a tough place to go.
I think we had Laura for 8 saves out of 12 shots that she faced. A good, valiant effort from her. But talk about how she played.
Yeah, she done really well. We told her we're going to need her to make a couple of big saves to keep us in the game, which I think she did in the first half. We kept it at 0-0 for as long as we can, and I think we just ran out a little bit of gas there at the end of the first half. And credit to Jones, the player that scored the goals. It was 2 great goals, so can't really do much whenever they score 2 good goals. Sometimes you just got to clap and applaud your opponent.
Right, but you rebound on Friday. You welcome in your rival Southwest. You face off against the Lady Bears, and you rebound. You get a 3-1 win. You get a hat trick from Charlie, her 4th hat trick of the season, 3rd in conference play alone. Just talk about how the team played throughout the match.
Yeah, we told them we just wanted a good reaction after Tuesday's game. We told them, we wanted to take away the positives from Tuesday and bounce back with a win on Friday, and that'll kind of get us back on track again. And I thought the girls did excellent from the very first whistle. I mean, we almost scored straight away from that. So it was good reaction. We were pleased with the result, pleased with the performance, and it was definitely a good result to get.
We're going to talk about the goals real quick. First 2 goals feature a connection. The same connection in both of them, but the first goal in the 20th minute, Charlie gets the goal off an assist from Kaylee Ross. Talk about that goal.
Yeah, Kaylee done a great ball. It was a great ball over the top. We talked to the girls about trying to look for the spacing behind if they're going to play a high line. Kaylee spotted it, delivered a peach of a ball basically to Charlie. It was on a plate, and a great finish as always from Charlie.
And then in the 22nd minute, Roth gets another assist. This time she gets the throw in. Charlie gets it right at the top of the box and just hits a laser for a finish. But talk about the goal.
Yeah, we noticed that that the girls were staying really tight to Charlie. They were right on her back, so we told them if they get too tight, just spin them on your first touch and take a shot from distance. The goalkeeper won't be ready for it, and she did exactly that, and it ended up going in the back of net and getting us the second goal. So
you're up 2-0, 22nd minute. You pretty much hold and stall out and stymie any kind of forward momentum that Lady Bears can get, and you hold that 2-0 going through halftime. Talk about what the message at halftime was, being up 2-0.
Yeah, credit to the back 4 and the goalkeeper. We told them that, if we don't concede now in the second half, we're going to win the game, and we still got more goals in us going forward. So we just said, just make sure you keep doing the little things right, which I thought our defensive line was excellent. The whole game, really. Chloe, Caroline, Kaylee, Emmy, all of them stepping in, winning balls, and just shutting down anything Southwest had. They obviously scored a little goal from a mistake, but that's part of the game. And then we stepped it up again and switched back on and got that 3rd goal.
And as you talked about there, Southwest did score in the 77th minute. One just kind of, like you said, they took advantage of a mistake and were able to cut the lead 2-1, but you didn't waste time in responding. 2 minutes later, you get a counterattack, and we talked about that defensive line. Probably girl who played probably the best defense I've seen her play since she's been here, Chloe Nash, gets you the ball on a challenge, gets the counterattack going. Eventually, Charlie scores. Talk about the goal.
Yeah, it was a ball going forward for them that they're trying to get in a counterattack, and I think it was maybe the 20th one that Chloe had stepped in and won all day. She was an absolute rock for us back there. I thought her and Caroline had a great partnership throughout the game the whole time. She stepped in, won the ball. It landed to Keeley, whose her passing ability and her vision and awareness is excellent. So she played a great ball into Charlie, slipping in behind, and it was 1-on-1 with the keeper, which I think, as we all know now, 1-on-1 with the keeper, I'm going to back Charlie all day of the week.
Yeah. 1-on-1 with a keeper, Charlie Cooper. I'm going to say advantage Charlie all day.
Yeah.
So 79th minute, you get there. 3-1. Eventually, that is what the game ends up being. You stalled out their offensive momentum again. They couldn't really get anything going forward. Anything they did go forward, anytime they took a shot, Laura was able to save it. She faced 5 shots, saved 4 of them, gave up just the 1. Talk about how strong she was for you.
Yeah, game plan. We had a game plan for that going into it with the goalkeepers. We knew that they've got a couple of girls who can strike the ball from distance, so we just told her just to play a little bit deeper and just be ready for the longer shots, which for her, that's definitely a strength of hers. She'd much rather face it. She'd much rather face a shot from distance than she would a cross coming into the box or anything like that. So I thought she dealt with them excellent. She had a couple of big saves that she needed to make, and she stepped up at the right time when we needed her.
All right, next up for the girls, you're going to go on the road on Tuesday. You face off against Itawamba, a team who just got a big upset of 8th-ranked Pearl River last week. But talk about what you know about the Lady Indians.
Yeah, they're a really well-coached side. They've got some really good players in the team. It's always a difficult place to play, especially when you've got to drive that far on a bus. So we're just hoping that the girls can bring energy and we're not coming out lethargic and flat after that long ride. We're hopefully going to kind of preach to them about tempo and energy going into the game. But yeah, it's going to be a really difficult game. But I think if we can get a win there, then it'll definitely put us in a good position going into the final few games of the season for conference.
And then you come back home on Friday. You get to host Meridian. Talk about what you know about the Lady Eagles, a side that, if you look at some of their early matches, they have just been beat up by some of the top-tier teams in this conference. But talk about what you know about the team.
Yeah, again, there's no easy game in this conference. Every team is good, and they've got a similar girl to Charlie on their team, an English girl forward who scored a ridiculous amount of goals as well so far as a freshman. So it's going to be important that we shut them down going forward, and hopefully our attack can score a couple of goals and win the game for us Friday at home.
And now we'll switch over to the men's side. Men also dropping the contest to Jones. They fall, they fall 6-0. And in this one, I think probably the biggest difference maker is the fact that you had to play most of the game a man down. You get an early red card. You have to play about 77 minutes of that match man down. But talk about how the valiant effort the guys showed throughout the match.
Yeah, they give it all they got, but it's so difficult to go to Jones whenever you've got 10 men. We had a game plan going into it that we talked about in terms of defensive pressure and how we were going to build up. And then that kind of went out the window once we got a red card. So it was always going to be difficult. And I said to the boys at halftime, I was like, look, let's go. Let's try and take the game to them. We're down 3-0. I said, let's just at least see if we can pull a couple of goals back. We'll take a gamble, take a risk. And credit to Jones, they played well and took advantage of the 10 men. And
I think a lot of those goals that were given up were just goals that any goalkeeper would give up. A lot of them just really good strikes. Leo sees 13 shots on goal throughout the match, and he still saves more than half of them. He had seven saves. Talk about how well Leo played, even though the scoreline would suggest otherwise.
Yeah, they were relentless with their pressure. They were just coming after us and weren't letting us out and weren't giving us a second to breathe. And so it was difficult to try and get out of our own defensive half. They created a lot of attack just from winning the balls off us in our own half and then putting pressure under Leo. But I thought he stepped up and made a couple of saves to try and keep it as close as possible. But again, I always tell the boys, pressure is going to lead to mistakes, and mistakes are going to lead to goals. And unfortunately, we were just on the wrong end of it that day.
And then you bounce back at the end of the week. You host Southwest. You get a 1-1 draw. Again, another draw where you look at it and you go, you're almost a little disappointed with the fact that it was a draw because of how well your guys played throughout the whole match, and you give up the equalizer late in the match. But talk about how well the guys played.
Yeah, definitely feels like it was 3 points lost, but we'll take a point, and I was proud of the effort and the performance from the boys. To be 1-0 up and go that long into the game and to concede in the last 3 minutes obviously hurts, but a valiant effort from the boys that were on the field defensively, just giving it all they had just to try and hold on as long as possible. I was definitely proud of their performance for that.
We'll talk about the goal that our guys scored. A little bit of a kind of crazy goal. If you go back and look at it, it comes off a corner. Connor Turner heads the ball. It bounces off the post, falls down to Ed's foot, and then that's how you score. But talk about the goal from your vantage point.
Yeah, I've been telling the boys all season we've got to be better at set pieces. We've got a lot of big lads that should be taking more advantage of it. We ended up finally getting a good ball into the box. Connor got a free header. It just came off the crossbar. He was unlucky not to score it himself, but it just landed it to the right person at the right time. Ed was there, and he just managed to toe poke it in to give us the lead, and that gave us a little bit of energy going on to the game.
And despite the fact that you have to end the first half with another man disadvantage, you had a player get a second yellow card, which equaled a red card. You have to finish the first half, about 3 minutes of it, with a man down, but you're still up 1-0. What's the message going into halftime?
We just told the boys, same thing that we said to the girls. If we keep a clean sheet, we're going to win the game. We changed our approach a little bit. We went a little bit more defensive-minded, which I thought worked for the majority of the game. But we've just got to make some better decisions in terms of discipline and maturity on the field. It's always difficult to try and get results whenever you're playing a man down. So we've just got to be better in that department going forward.
We've talked about the fact that they did score with about 3 or 4 minutes left. Just a really good goal. I talked to Leo after the match, and I asked him, I said, you kind of didn't see it at that point, did he? He said, no, I really didn't. So it was a good scheme there by Southwest. But just talk about and we have kind of spoken about, but talk about again, like just the kind of a valiant effort I talked about on the stream. You know, in that situation, the good thing is that most of the guys who were playing had been in the situation the game before, so they kind of were prepared to be able to play defensively and kind of stall out the Bears' attack.
Yeah, I thought, Southwest have got a really good attack going forward. I thought we did a great job of shutting that down throughout the game. They didn't really cause us that many problems from a defensive standpoint, even having a man down. And the boys were working for each other. I told them at halftime, it's going to be tough, but we need to be together. And it was nice to see a good team performance there. If somebody made a mistake, there was somebody there backing each other up. And I was proud of the effort. Obviously, just a little disappointed to not get the result. And
probably a game where you saw two goalkeepers just absolutely standing on their heads and making a lot of great saves. Leo had 9 saves, and the goalkeeper for Southwest, Marin, we talked to their head coach after. I said, I don't think I've ever seen a guy play that high of a line in this conference and do it so well. Just great play by both keepers. But talk about the play of Leo.
Yeah, he's been big for us this season, just making big saves at the right time when we need him to keep us in the game. At 1-0, I think he made 2 or 3 really good saves, a couple from distance and one of the balls coming in the box off a cross. And yeah, at that point, when he was making those saves and he looked like he was on fire, I was thinking, okay, today might be the day that we can get 3 points. But unfortunately, it wasn't quite meant to be. But yeah, he's been big for us all season.
But you always take a point anytime you can get it, especially right now when you're making that push for the playoffs. You'll continue that push this week. Take the same path that the girls do. You go up to Itawamba on Tuesday. An Indians team, Indians team, it's kind of been up and down all year, but talk about what you know about that team.
Yeah, similar to their women's side. Obviously going to be a difficult time whenever we're driving that far going up. They're always really well organised and well coached up there, really hard-working and energetic, so it's going to be a difficult team to break down. But as you've seen in the conference, anybody can beat anyone on their given day, so we've just got to make sure we're on the right side of it and we just take care of the little things and hopefully have a little bit better discipline where we can finish the game with 11 players, and that'll give us a little bit of a better opportunity to get the 3 points on the road.
And then obviously you host Meridian, again, another team that's been kind of up and down all year. You've seen they've been really successful at times and then not at other times. But what do you know about the Eagles coming in?
Yeah, they're good going forward. They've got a good attack. I think they've let in a few goals this year, but they're getting better. You can see their progress already as the season's going on. They've got a lot of new players, a lot of new faces. So I think for them, it's trying to get them to gel and be on the same page. But again, anybody can beat anyone on their given day. We've just got to make sure we take care of business and do the little things right and make sure that we win and get the 3 points whenever we're playing at home, especially.
And then the guys will go on the road, step out of conference play for their final non-conference action of the year. They'll play Oxford College of Emory University. You're playing that game in Birmingham. What do you know about that team? What can you tell us about that team?
Yeah, they've got a couple of good results. They held Jones to a 2-1 game. They've got a couple of ties and a couple of wins the last few games. So it's going to be nice to see somebody different other than our conference opponents. So we just wanted to give the boys something different to look at, just in case, we do make it into the national tournament. We want to be prepared to play teams with all different styles and something that we're not used to. So the more that we can adjust and adapt in games, I think the better we'll be in the long run. So it'll be nice to play somebody different. All
right, Tom, thanks for joining us. That'll wrap up the soccer portion of today's show. Again, a recap of all that upcoming action. Lady Wolves and Wolves are on the road Tuesday to Itawamba and then host Meridian on Friday. And the guys are going to step out of conference action and go to Birmingham and play Oxford College of Emory University on Saturday. I'm Kevin Kaiser, Sports Information Coordinator. Tune in. We'll talk to head football coach Glenn Davis next after this break. Welcome back. Thanks for sticking with us through the break. Joining me now is head football coach Glenn Davis. Coach, thanks for joining us.
Sure, glad to be here.
And Coach, guys rebounded this past week, got a big win in South Division play, first one of the year against Southwest, 29-21. Talk about how the guys played.
Well, I thought, first half we played really well. I thought, the guys offensively and defensively made a lot of plays. We had a few things in special teams as the game went on, and we made a couple, mental mistakes here or there on, with young quarterback playing, throwing the ball away instead of throwing the ball back across his, across the grain, and those are things that we'll get better and better at. And we had several guys that didn't play in the game, and so I thought it was a really, really good win and really hard fought game on both sides.
Coach, obviously we'll start like we always do, talking about some impact players. You mentioned the first one I wanted to talk about, Will Loy. You call his name, he gets his first career start. and I thought he played a very solid game. He finished 17 of 23 for 193 yards, had his first 2 career touchdowns, also had 2 interceptions. I think probably the interception was probably the worst passes he threw the whole game. But just talk about the way he started and how big that's going to be for y'all going forward, knowing you've got a quarterback that's now got a full game experience under his belt.
I mean, you go 17 for 23. I mean, that's big. 6 incomplete passes, and 2 of them I know he wished he'd have had back, and but thought he played really well and managed the team and distributed the ball to the places it had to go, and really proud of him.
And I think 2 guys that anybody who sees the box score will say arguably had a big impact for you were your 2 running backs. Johnny Daniels, almost 100 yards from scrimmage, had 61 yards on 17 carries. I might believe carries is close to a career high, and then had the 131-yard touchdown reception. We'll talk about the reception a little bit later, but just talk about the impact he had on the game.
Oh, Johnny's a tremendous football player. Tickled to death that he's here. He's been consistent in the running game, and I think you saw Thursday, how explosive he can be in the passing game when he catches the ball too.
Coach, another one, another running back really kind of popped out on the scene for you. Anybody who watched it probably saw him just running hard and powerful throughout the whole game, but that's Trey Minor. Only had 9 carries, had 55 yards, but the bigger impact was the 2 touchdowns.
Right. Yeah, Trey's gotten better and better. He's finally getting almost 100% healthy, and that's kind of has been his, holdback is him getting healthy. And but he played well. He gave us a big boost. Made a really, really strong physical run on the scoreboard end that was a big touchdown for us in the first half, and really proud of him.
And then on the receiving end, Jalen Smith, 9 receptions, that's a career high, hits over 100 yards for the second time in his career, had 103 yards and 1 touchdown. And I really think if you watch the game, you really kind of saw him and Jalen and Will really just kind of seemed like they would develop a connection as the game went on. Talk about his play.
Yeah, Jalen's a tremendous player. He's gotten better and better, each game. And from this season to last season, he's much improved. We're trying to get our best players the ball in space and in different situations. And, that's a good thing by our offensive staff, designing plays to come up with to be able to get him the football. And same as for Johnny whenever, in space. And, really, really proud of Jalen and how he played and everything.
And then we'll look at the defense as a whole group. If you looked at the box score and the lines and everything, I think really it sticks out to you is that defense just had a really great game as a unit. Had 4 sacks, seven tackles for loss, 3 interceptions. They were led by Caden Dukes, who came back after being sick the week before. He had 10 tackles, a tackle for loss, and an interception. Talk about how big getting Caden back was, and then just how the defense played overall.
Well, Caden's kind of the glue over there for us, and he kind of gets people lined up in the secondary, and extremely heads-up player. He makes plays. He knows things that are going on. He picks things up as the game goes on, and really smart. He played well, and you mentioned about sacks. Our defensive front, I thought we were able to put pressure on them. Their quarterback was very elusive, and it was hard to keep in the pocket. And sometimes we tried to flush him out, and thought Malachi Williams did a great job of mirroring him a lot when we spied. So really, really good game in the front 7, and great job in the secondary and pass defense.
And we'll head on. Like to see is that the response continued on the next drive. You forced Southwest to try a fake punt, and looked like at first they had gotten it, but then they whistled it dead because I believe they said the punter's knee was down when he fielded the snap. So that gave you the ball right there on about the Southwest 21-yard line. You turn around 2 plays later, Will Lloyd throws his first career touchdown, hits Jalen Smith on just a beautiful pass. Talk about that play.
Yeah, we had called they had secondary roll strong to the trip side, and we threw Will saw that and threw the one-on-one side with Jalen and their DB, and we feel good about those matchups. So. It was, like I said, a great throw and big catch for a touchdown.
And then back-to-back PATs on both of those scores by Brandon Gillum makes it 14-7. Then you respond again in the second quarter. You open it up early, and Trey Minor scores again on a 3-yard touchdown rush. That was a very powerful, hard, explosive run by him. But I think one of the things that stands out on that drive, as we talked about the connection between Jalen and Will, they connected 3 times on that and had 47 yards out of a 10-play, 87-yard drive. You saw them get 47 up. But talk about that drive and talk about how you were able to power the ball in.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, Trey, we ran inside zone, and Trey cut it back, and wasn't anybody there when he cut the ball back, and getting the ball to Jalen was part of our game plan going in, and just like it is to get it all to all of our skilled guys, and we just felt like that there were some matchups that we could create with Jalen, and we were able to take advantage of those.
So you're up 21-7 after that successful PAT by Gillum, and you got about 11 and a half minutes left, and then you score again, and you really think you're going to run. It really looks like you're about to run away from it, but this drive set up by a punt return by Jalen. He gets it onto the southwest side of the field. You're on the 40-yard line, and this is where Will finds Johnny Daniels on the little swing pass, and Johnny makes a couple little moves, and the next thing you know, he's gone for a 31-yard touchdown. Talk about that play.
Yeah, it's a little screen play to Johnny, and we missed a block outside, and he was able to make that guy miss, and then he just outran him down the sideline, and that just showed his explosiveness out in space, and that he can really run for a guy his size.
And I think probably one of the crazier plays of the night. You had the impromptu 2-point conversion. I think it was a bad snap on the PAT attempt, but you had your starting tight end, Tyler Fortenberry, eventually complete a pass to your starting defensive end, Cavante Wells. Talk about that play. Just talk about, I think it was just kind of, like I said, very impromptu, but the fact that you have a starting tight end who's your holder, who used to be a quarterback, how key was it there?
Oh, it's big. I mean, Tyler's a versatile guy. He does a lot of things for us in our offense right now, and couldn't tell if the snap was bad or if he just mishandled the snap. But he was kept his composure and was able to roll and find Cavante in the back of the end zone.
So you're up 29-7. You got about 7.5 minutes left, and so you look like you're kind of cruising a little bit. You're getting a little bit of danger though here. Southwest is able to cut it down basically right in half. They blocked a punt. Were able to return it for a touchdown. They cut it down to 29-14 with that successful PAT. And then you have a string of plays. You had 3 straight interceptions on 3 straight completions. And unfortunately for Will, he had 2/3 of those interceptions. Right. But this is where Caden Dukes got his interception. You kind of thought maybe you'd take some advantage of that right there. But unfortunately, that's where Will kind of threw the ball back across his body. Right. But it doesn't hurt you because in the end, you're still leading at halftime 29-14. Just talk about what the message is to the guys when you're up at that situation.
Well, I mean, the block punt was, we just didn't. The snap was a little left, and we just didn't protect the guy that was running, that's assigned to the wall, and we didn't touch him, and he blocks a kick, and he makes a great play, and they pick it up and run it in for a touchdown. But it should have been 29-7 at halftime, and so we kind of let them in the second half, kind of basically on a high note with them getting points, and so coming back out, the big thing for us was to keep doing what we were doing, keep distributing the ball, let's run the football better, keep running that, and then defensively, keep tackling, and that was the biggest thing, is keeping their quarterbacks under wraps, keeping him contained, and then being able to tackle.
And then Southwest does come out in the third quarter. It feels like they kind of took that momentum they had in the second half and kind of carried it on and got a scoring drive, cut it down to an 8-point game. It's 29-21 with 10:01 left in the third quarter. Now, again, what we see is our guys responding again. You drive all the way down the field, you line up for a field goal, and unfortunately, this is the first true miss for Gillum all year. For Gillum all year. Didn't really see, from our vantage point in the press box, it's kind of hard to see how the ball goes. It looked like it might have been a little wide left or wide right. Wasn't really sure there. And then you go down the field again and you line up for another one, and unfortunately Southwest blocks that one. So fortunately a couple of special teams miscues, but you still have the lead even after those.
Yeah, there's the field goal. You know, we've got a new snapper, and you know, he's done a great job so far. And we had basically two guys that didn't block on their two field goals that were blocked, and you know, we've definitely got to get that cleaned up, because you know, once you get one special teams blocked or something, you're going to get pressure big time from the coming weeks of it. So we got to get it cleaned up this week, and you know, that's something we're going to really concentrate hard on, is you know, extra point field goal protection and punt protection.
I think one play we didn't mention before the missed field goals, and really what led to the drive for the first missed field goal, was the fact that Southwest had the ball. They were driving. Looked like they might be able to tie it with the drive there in the third quarter, but Elijah Short just comes up and just steps in front of a pass right on the 2-yard line and kind of gives you all the momentum back. How big was that interception for your group?
It was big. I mean, that's, you know, what, you know, defense found a way to stop the drive, and you know, they just kept plugging away all night. You know, after we kind of put them in situations that, you know, when you have bad plays happen, you know, one side of the ball's got to raise its level of play, and that's kind of what the defense did.
And so Southwest gets the ball after they blocked the field goal. They recovered it. Play ends on about the 5-yard line. There was a little bit of a return, but it all went for negative yardage. Now this is where you see Southwest drive the ball down again. They go 88 yards, and looks like again they're in position to possibly tie up the game. You've got less than a minute left at this point, but again the defense comes up huge. You get pressure on the quarterback. You force him to make a throw into the end zone, and much to the Wolves' delight, there's Jerron Manning for the third interception of the game, and that basically seals it for you right there. Talk about that play.
I mean, that's big. It was fourth down, and I think it was 4th and goal, and you know, our defense got pressure on him, flushed him out of the pocket, and made him roll to his right. And you know, anytime you roll out one way or another, you kind of cut the field in half of what you have to cover. And you know, I thought our defense did a great job of covering that portion of the field and being in the right place.
And then obviously you get the ball back, 44 seconds left, 3 kneels done. Wolves win 29-21. You know, we talk, there's an old football saying, and I know you've heard it a million times, and I've said it: offense puts fans in the stands, defense wins championships. And really, the name of the game for this one was defense winning the game for you. You take away the 88-yard drive at the end, the 75-yard touchdown drive in the third quarter. That's 163 of their 248 yards. So the rest of the game, you give them 65 yards.
Right.
Defense just played their tails off.
They did. They played really well. Like I say, in the first half, you know, it was, you know, a really clean game. You know, you'd like for them not to have those 2 drives in the second half, but like you said, that's 150, 60 yards of their total offense. And you know, I thought they played well. You know, offensively, you know, I thought we played really well the first half, and then the second half, it was almost like we played to win. In the first half, it was more like played not to lose in the second half offensively. And you know, maybe we got a little conservative because of the 2 turnovers. But you know, that's just, you know, big thing is we hung on and won, and you know, we're tickled to death for that.
And next up, obviously, you've got to make a few adjustments to your weekly schedule, because you've got to do something we haven't done in the 3 years that I've been here yet, and that's play a game on a Saturday. Yeah. You got to go to Coahoma. They're playing their homecoming that day. Game at 5 p.m. Tigers not off to a great start at the year. Haven't seen a lot of success throughout the season, but what do you know about that group and how strong they're going to come out?
Well, offensively, they're extremely talented. Their quarterback is pretty solid. They've got a receiver that's committed to Ole Miss. You know, they're big up front in the offensive line. Defensively, they may not be as big as some of the teams we've played, but they run around really well. They're playing a scheme that we haven't played against, you know, per se yet. And you know, run a lot of blitzes, and so you know, the thing we got to really do is make sure we get hats on the right people and give us as many looks as we possibly can. And there's no telling what else you're going to see after a long week of practice, you know, from them. So. And
Coach, obviously, we talked about the fact that it is on a Saturday. Does that change up a lot of your preparation and things like that, or do you try to keep things the same as you can, because you know the next week you still got to go back and play on Thursday, so you still got to try to keep things as similar as they can? But how much does it change things for y'all?
Well, I mean, a little bit. You know, we kind of gave them off yesterday, except for those guys that were injured. We made sure they were back for treatment. Today is kind of our Sunday. Our Monday and Tuesday will be Tuesday, Wednesday, and then Thursday will be kind of a mixture of Tuesday and Wednesday. So, like I said, we hadn't done this in a while, but that's kind of how we've gone about it in the past, and it's kind of worked out good for us.
And that's where, having a staff full of veteran coaches does pay off. But that will wrap up our show this week. Again, Wolves beat Southwest 29-21. They've got Coahoma, the Tigers, in Clarksdale on Saturday at 5 p.m. We'll carry that game, CoLinAthletics.com. I'm Kevin Kaiser, Sports Information Coordinator here at Co-Lin. Thanks for tuning in this week, and we'll talk to you next week.